All right, y'all, we want to welcome you to episode 9 of Essex County College Virtual Cafe. We got Miss Hunt at the main campus today. She is going to be showing us some chess 101. What up, Miss Hunt?
What's going on? What's going on?
Miss Hunt, how long have you been playing chess? Your whole life?
Oh man, at least, and I'm to see now. You got me telling my age. At least the last 20 years, if not more than that. I started playing at a very young age. Definitely was a run outside type of kid, but grandma played chess, so I learned how to play chess. And grandma always beat me. Still never beat her.
Nice.
She's the master.
The master.
But I'm thankful and appreciative that she took the time to teach me. I mean, that's where my love and passion for the game comes. So, and we did just recently on this campus, we joined the Garden State Chess League, which is not collegiate, but we did participate in the Garden State Chess League. We lost terribly, but the only way that you get better at things is to play people or do things with people that are better at it than you. And then you pick up those skills and the know-how. So I'm pretty sure it was a lot of lessons learned for them because they played people of different age ranges and from different walks of life, from all the way from out in Hamilton. We've had players come from, and they would come to the main campus. We've played against NJIT, and it's just an open chess club. So ideally, I would love to start something like this where, people could just log in and send a combination of, moves and we can still all play virtually. It's like I said, it's a wonderful game, and you don't need to be in the same space to do it. You just move my pieces for me and I move your pieces for you.
All right, so if you have a chessboard, grab it out. We're going to let Miss Hunt take it away and show us the rules of the game and how to move the pieces. All right, Miss Hunt.
All right, let's get to it. We are on episode 10?
9.
Jeez, we are making moves, man.
We're burning through them.
Alrighty. So what we have today is Chess 101, episode 9, coming at you. The Hunt and Ott Show. I like that. It's catching on.
You know that's right.
All right. So you don't know anything about chess. You never played chess? Never.
I played like checkers when I was a kid, but everyone always says checkers ain't the same as chess.
It's definitely not the same concept, not the same rules, not the same pieces. It's only the same board. Okay, so we have black pieces and we have white pieces. They should all mirror each other, meaning that you should have the same number of pieces for the black that you do for the white. You know absolutely nothing about chess, so let's start with the basics. We have particular pieces that move in particular ways. Chess is not for the faint of heart. It's a very, very time-consuming, can be very patient-oriented type of game. Definitely not for the faint of heart. I can't stress that enough. You will lose your mind either learning or playing chess, but it's a very, very fun pastime, and I enjoy it thoroughly. I don't know why there's 2 queens. Definitely not necessary. So once we get all set up here, we will go through the pieces and how they move. And then we move to board setup. Okay, so essentially I have the pieces where they ideally would go on the board. So along here we have alphabets, and along here we have numbers. The reason that that's very, very particular and specific is because this is a game that you can play and we don't have to be in the same space. Your moves can be translated through a sequence of alphabets and numbers. Make sense?
Absolutely. The grid.
So you have A, B, C, D, E, and then you have 8, 7, 6, 5. We'll get to those more specific numberings and letterings as we get a little bit further down. All right. I guess for all intents and purposes, you're white. The way we usually play is someone takes both queens or both two pieces, one of each color in a hand, and the opposing person chooses a hand, and that's how we choose who goes first.
Okay.
But this is a tutorial, so hopefully this inspires you to want to where are we at? Here. Inspires you to want to get a chess set, and then, like I said, we can play in the sequence of text messages back and forth or something like it, because you would send me where you want me to move your piece to, essentially move it, and that's your move, and I would do the same thing, and we could just piggyback back and forth until we get to a conclusion, which is usually a checkmate. You definitely don't want a stalemate, and there's also a draw. We'll get there. Alrighty,
Cool.
pieces on the end are rooks. Rooks are little castle-like pieces that have divots in the top. You see? All good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's the rook. The rook moves along vertical and horizontal, but only in straight lines. It can't go diagonal. So your rook can only go forward and it can only go left or right, but it cannot follow the green pattern. Cool?
Sounds good to me.
All right, this is your knight. And this little doohickey keeps falling out of here, so we're just gonna keep that over there. This is your knight. That is the horse-looking piece. The knight moves in an L shape. So up 2 and over 1 is an L. Up 1 and over 2 is an L. Up 2 and over 1 is an L. And you continue on. If there's a piece occupying the space, you cannot move there. Got it?
Got it.
So next piece is a bishop. That is the one that looks like a little fighting guy with a helmet on his head. Is the best description I can give to it. It never dawned on me how archaic chess pieces are, but I mean, now explaining what they look like, I see how and when it probably was originated, which was eons ago. As time's progressed, I definitely saw a variety of chess pieces that didn't necessarily resemble these exact pieces, but they still moved in the same way. So this guy is your bishop. Your bishop moves on the pattern. So your bishop will move on the white there, forward, and your bishop will move on the white pattern here, forward, any number of spaces as long as the space isn't occupied. Unlike checkers, you cannot jump a piece in chess. Remember that, Joe. You can't jump pieces. I know you.
No jumping. Got it.
No jumping. All right, and this is your king. Your king only moves one space at a time unless it's being castled, and that's a way further down in this tutorial. We might not even get to it today. Your queen moves everywhere she wants to, anywhere she wants to, in any direction she wants to. She can move forward, she can move backwards, she can move horizontal, she can move vertical, she can move any way that she wants to, and she is probably one of the very few pieces on the board that has the luxury. That's why a lot of people protect the queen. It depends on your strategy of play. These little guys up here are called pawns. They are exactly what they stand for, which is sacrificial pieces. The more important thing to note about pawns, though, while they get sacrificed and they are probably the least favored of chess pieces, they're probably my favorite chess piece, because in the event that I can get my pawn onto your front line, my pawn can become any other piece that I want it to. So I can get my pawn to your front line and end up with 6 queens that can essentially move anywhere on the board, which is probably why they're my favorite piece. So
wait, hold up. So a pawn, once it gets to the boxes right before the opposing team, it turns into you can make an L move. It can do anything.
It can do anything. So if I get my pawn to where your rook or any of these pieces are, then that piece transforms into any piece that I want it to.
Wow.
Good stuff. Which is why it's my favorite piece. I mean, like I said, a lot of people favor the queen, but I like the pawn. I mean, first off, because there's so many of them, and I have the ability, if I plan properly, I have the ability to get my pawns to your front line, and like I said, I can end up with 6 queens. And that to me sounds a whole lot better than just, one piece that can do all of that. I would rather have the luxury of having the piece transform itself and become something different.
So let me ask you this then. What's the difference between a pawn and a rook? Because you said a rook can only move forward. A pawn only moves forward, or what's the deal?
The pawns move forward and capture sideways. Okay, so pawns at initial move can move 2 spaces or they can move 1 space. You have to move your pawns out because no piece can jump except for your knight. And your knight can only jump because it moves in an L shape. So you have to move your pawns out in order to clear room for other pieces to be able to move. Got it?
Got it.
Okay, so pawns, you moving 1 or you moving 2. Now, this is the fun part for me. So let's say you and I start a game and you're there, I'm here. How are we gonna play together? Well, the board is set up like this and you have corresponding letters and numbers. So I would say, Joe, move my first pawn to D8. So you would take my pawn while you're at your house and I'm at mine. I move your pieces for you, you move my pieces for me, and then we still continue on with our very own moves. So if I say, Joe, move my pawn to D8, you move my pawn up 2 spaces. So my line here is 8, and my corresponding alphabet is D. So you would move my pawn to D8. Now it would be your turn. So let's say you want to make a similar move. You want to move your pawn to E8. So your pawn comes up. Now, pawns can only move forward, but they can't capture unless they go sideways. So in this instance, I would not be able to capture your pawn and you wouldn't be able to capture mine. Got it?
Got it.
But if you said move my second pawn from G7 to E7, now we capture sideways. If you move your pawn up, I have the ability to capture it, which would be that, and I would now own that piece. You don't get that back, it's a dead piece. You'll see it next game. Leave that there. Now, anytime one of these pawns come forward because they can't move sideways, I now have the ability to capture either of these 2 pawns. So ideally, you wouldn't move those pawns over there. Same for your bishop. Because your bishop moves on the pattern, so we're on the green for you, because your bishop moves on the pattern, if you move here, I can capture your bishop. You probably wouldn't want to do that.
All right.
Whole point of the game is for me to get your king in check. The long answer of the entire game is strategy and patience, but it's a game of survival of the fittest for the most part. You have pieces that are sacrificed. You have pieces that you're not going to want to lose, but ultimately you are going to lose pieces, and that's why you shouldn't favor a particular piece. You can have a favorite piece, but you shouldn't favor a piece so much so that people that are playing you know that you favor that piece. So what I mean by that is you'll do anything to keep that piece, protect that piece, so much so that you lose sight of the point of the game. If the point of the game is for you to make sure that your king is protected, you can't favor a piece so much that you lose sight of the functionality of all the other pieces. All right. So if we put you back together here, and this is why I asked you if you had a board, because you and I would actually go through some type of mock game here.
I'll tell you to move. I'll tell you to move my pieces. I mean, it's going to suck, but I'll tell you.
All right. So what are you thinking?
All right. So move my furthest pawn by the G to I. Can we do that or no?
G to I? No, you're going the wrong way. So you got
H. G to F.
G to F. So you want to move the pawn 1 space. 1 space? G to F?
What are my other options? I can move it 2 if I want?
You can move only on the initial. So as long as they're on this line, they can move 1 space or they can move up 2 spaces.
Let's just stick with 1 for now. I don't want to get too close and have you take me out instantly.
All right. So do you have an idea in mind of how you're going to get your king, keep your king protected and still try to capture mine? Are you thinking of a strategy?
I'm at a loss for a strategy, but I'm guessing the object is for me to capture as many of your pawns as I can, prevent them from coming to my side, and then eventually taking over your rooks, knights, and kings, right? Or queens, right?
Listen, for the most part, that is essentially it. Absolutely. So I'm not novice, and I play very erratically. Some might describe it. So you, like most people, will start on the outskirts to moving pieces, where I, on the other hand, would move just flat out. Let's get it started, because I mean that's the whole point of the game. Scared money doesn't make money. I'm pretty sure you've heard that saying. So I sacrifice pieces all of the time, but I know that I have the ability to get the pieces back. So that's why I play the way that I play. But let's go. It's your move. So I moved my pawn from b5 to d5.
Now, since you're the expert and you can help me, am I supposed to be getting a bunch of pawns in place right now, or should I be just moving that same pawn that I've begun with?
Well, it depends. And it's very much going to depend on your liking of the game. Sort of like with the guitar, you either love it or you don't. So if you like the game of chess and the concept, and you're taking a liking to it, you are then going to download an app, and you're going to have signature moves. Like, I'm not sure if you ever saw the movie Chasing Bobby Fischer or something.
Finding Bobby Fischer. I remember that one. Oh yeah. Did they ever find him?
I don't think so. Well, no, wait. What's the one with the chess guy? Is that?
That's him. I'm pretty sure that's him.
I'm almost sure of it too. So you'll see signature moves. Like, you have well-renowned chess players, and some people can sit down at a chessboard, and within 3 moves, the game is over.
Jeez.
And yes, it's sick. But you love to see it, because it's like, oh man, if I was doing it, I would have did this, or I would have tried it this way. But you will find particular moves and setups that will get you the result that you're looking for, which would be to capture my king or vice versa. Some people just draw the game out, and it takes forever and a day. A lot of people play with time clocks, where you have 60-minute intervals. That's not something I ever got into the habit of doing, because I never had one. So I'm not really, really good at the time. And I can probably, in my head, play without the pieces and the board.
Wow. A pro.
Not a pro. I mean, this is what we did. My grandma is who taught me how to play, and my sister-in-law play. And when you're a twin and you always got somebody to play with, competition is something else. So you always want to be the better. And I will honestly say that she is the better chess player. She is. If I could have got her, then we would have played it. We would have went through a game on here, but I digress. So essentially, like I said, I open up my front line because I like the ability to move my pieces when I want to move my pieces, and I don't want the pawns in the way. So your question initially was, do you try to collect up a bunch of pawns? If that is the strategies you have in mind, just make sure that you keep whatever the strategy is, and when it's not working for you, make sure that you change it. That's the best I got to answer that question. There's no wrong way to play.
Let's move my 5 pawn 1 up to F.
Okay. So when you did that, you have to be mindful of this line here, because it goes straight to your king. But you have more than enough pieces to protect the king if I were to do something like, let's say, put your king in check. Again, that's the whole point of the game. So let's pause for a minute, and I'm going to show you. So let's say my pawn was already out. My queen, because it can move anywhere it wants to, I would then move my queen here. That puts your king in check, which means you have to do something to shield your king and get your king out of check. What would you do in that instance? There's a number of things that can be done. If it were me, my first move, because I need to protect the king, I would move your G7 up 2 spaces. That puts that pawn directly in the path from the king. So now your king is no longer in check. I now need to make a decision because remember, pawns can capture sideways. I now need to decide whether or not I'm going to move this or if I'm going to leave it here. If I leave it here, you have the ability to take my queen. That's not what we want to do. So I ideally would move my queen out of the way so it can't be captured. If I move it up and try to take this piece, doesn't sound like the best idea to me because remember, rooks move forward, so my queen still gets captured. Not only that, your knight moves in an L shape. So over 1 and up 2 is where my queen would be. You still capture my queen, not what I want to do. Third, your bishop would have the ability to capture my queen, not what I want to do. So I would not presumptuously jump up into your territory and not have my queen better protected. You got all of that?
I got it, I think.
All right. So what I will do is move, which would be something to that effect. Is it a smart move? It's not the worst move in the world. I still prevent you from moving a certain number of pieces in a certain way. You get what I'm saying?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
So if you come forward, I still have the ability to protect from the line of D as opposed to all the way back on my A line.
Now, what have you left vulnerable over there, or nothing at all?
Nothing at all just yet. I did leave a space for infiltration. Okay, so the other thing is you have people that play pretty aggressively, whereby they would move all of this front line out of the way just so they get attacked hard and fast moving forward. So you will have people that will come down and let's say you end up here and here, right? So in this instance, this would be checkmate. If I can get my pieces down the board that fast, and you are the more novice, I mean the more novice player, you are unaware of what just happened. Okay, so my bishop is on the path to your king, right?
Yes.
My queen is now directly on your king. You are in check. It's not checkmate yet, but you are in check. What happens is because my queen is right by your king and I can take your king, you have to do something to shield your king and protect it. So you're in check, you would move here. Only thing you can do, not a lot of options. In that regard, what would I do? I could come back here and I could say check again, right? That doesn't sound like a smart move because all you have to do is take my queen. Done. Threat gone. Now you can start to move your king back and shield it again, or you can continue to move forward. It's really up to you. But you have some people that's how aggressive they play. Like I said, some games can end in 3 or 4 moves, and you're sitting there like, what just happened? You got to play smart. You got to look at all the pieces. You got to anticipate the moves of all of the pieces and the person that you're playing. It's not for the faint of heart. I'm telling you, man. Chess is it can be something else.
All right, let's do a run through. Let's demonstrate a novice losing to the master. All right, just go hard.
Go for
But
it.
explain it though. Here we go.
It's your move.
Let's move my 3 pawn to F as well.
Okay, so I move my knight from C3 to D1.
And a knight can move in an L shape.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to keep going with that pawn I just moved because then you'll take me.
See, and that's another thing about chess. Just because you have the ability to take a piece, if my end game or my strategy doesn't require for me to take your piece, I'm not going to take your piece. I put myself into a like a back against the wall position if every time you move, I'm trying to capture you. I'm losing sight of what the point of the game is because that's not the point of the game. Me capturing your piece is not how you win the game. Me putting your king into a position where your king can't do anything else but go down, that's the point of the game. So if you were to move, let's say your 3 pawn up to E, I would not take your pawn because it doesn't benefit me in any way. But that's just me. That's the way I play.
All right, let's do that then. Let's move the pawn to E.
Okay. So I do have the ability to take. That's the L. I can take and capture, but again, that's not the point of any of this. So I wouldn't do it. I move my 4 pawn from B to C. Again, just in an effort to open up the space so I can move my pieces freely. Remember that the knight is the only piece that can jump. So if you don't move the pawns out of the way, those pieces are stuck back there.
Got you. All right, I'm gonna keep charging your front line then because I don't know any other strategies yet. I'm gonna keep moving that same pawn. Let's move it to D.
Okay, so again, I have no reason to capture your pawn, except for the fact that you are going to force me to move a piece that I didn't necessarily want to move. So in this regard, I will take your pawn to keep you at bay. You might want to set up a line on the board under which you're comfortable. So, just starting out, these are your 2 lines, but you want to establish a space up higher on the board where you're like, okay, wait a minute, you're getting a little too close. let me back you up a little bit. You can't just charge at me. It's not gonna work like that. So you do want to set up a perimeter or a barrier, so to speak, by which you can keep your pieces protected. So for me, that line was D.
All right, let's move G1 to F1.
G1. Okay. Well, you said that backwards, but I think that's what you meant, right?
That's exactly what I meant. You got it.
Okay. So yeah, you were G to F, but it's your G1 to F1. I got you. Okay, so I move. Go ahead. Okay, go ahead.
Let's move that pawn next to it. Let's move 2G to 2F.
Okay, that is a great move because that's going to force me to reconsider what I'm doing with my knight. My general idea was to get up high enough to put you in check, which I can do by moving my knight from 3E to 2G, right? So if I move here, that puts you in check. You would have to do something to get out of check. But all that would require is for you to take my knight with your bishop, and the threat is gone. So I wouldn't do that because that just makes no sense at all. I don't want to sacrifice my piece in such a way and lose it just yet. I like the knight because it has the ability to jump and move a number of spaces at a time. So what I will do is retreat, so to speak, because it's unnecessary for me to sacrifice that piece at this time.
All right. What do you got?
All right, so I move from 3E to 5D. So I moved here. Also note, depending on who you're playing with, now this is a tutorial, so you'll see a lot of loose movement. But in the game of chess, once you move a piece, you have the ability to take back that move. but you cannot take your hand off of the piece. Taking your hand, if you move a piece, like let's say this knight, you take this knight and you move it here. Let's just say I am trying to survey, I'm trying to get a feel of what could happen to this piece if I move it here. I'm going to keep contact with the piece throughout, because if I decide that I don't want to make this move, I have the ability to move it back and take my hand off the piece, regroup, and then choose another piece possibly to move. If I take this piece and move it here, that completes my turn. I can't then decide, oh no, wait, I don't want to do that, because I've already taken my hand off of the piece. So just be mindful, like I said, depending on who you're playing with. Some people are very much sticklers for rules like that. And it could get it could get ugly, just like spades and Uno, chess is a pretty serious game.
Gotcha. All right. Let's move my 6 pawn up 1 to F.
Okay. All right. So do you have a strategy in mind here, or are you just moving pieces up?
I'm just trying to encroach upon your territory. I'm trying to get my front line up and just keep inching it up, but I'm sure you're about to infiltrate.
Don't be so sure. I mean, we're taking it easy here, All right. So I'm going to move my B2 to C2.
Let's move 7G up to 7F.
I'm going to move my B1 up to D1. Pawns move forward and capture diagonal. So if I infiltrate and come here, then you have the ability to move. Otherwise, you have to come forward. And this is the only piece remaining that you can move the 2 spaces if you opted to. So you can move from 4G to 4E, or you just move up the 1 and put them on a line with everybody else.
Yeah, let's get him on the F line.
All right. All right, so I like what you're doing here. Just be mindful, though, pawns can't move backwards. So you still want to create some type of security as it relates to your king, because you've now pushed forward all of the pieces. So you have to try to remember where your security is, which will be your knights, which moves in L's, and your bishops, which move on the line that they're on. Okay?
Got it. What are you going to do?
Move my bishop from 3A to C1.
Bishop moves on pattern only, you said, right?
Yes.
All right, let's move Bishop H up 1.
So which one? This one or this one?
3.
Great. I use my bishop from C1 to take your pawn on F4.
Hey, I'm just kidding. Let's move the other bishop on 6 to the towards the side of the board on the next green space.
Here?
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome. Move from D1 to E1.
Let's get the bishop that I first move. I like to continue going diagonal on the line where there's a space. Yeah, right to your right. There we go. Perfect. Thank you.
Here?
Yep. Bishop 3F to 4D.
Wasn't the best move. You have no protection. And your bishop is gone.
For those of you at home, I just want to remind you, you got to have protection no matter what situation you're in, even chess.
For the plug.
Let's move 7F up 1 towards you, the pawn.
7F up 1. Okay. I just captured another pawn.
If I move my knight up 2 and 1 to your left, does that capture your piece or no?
No.
I want to do it anyway.
Up 2 and over 1.
Thank you.
So I moved my pawn from F2 to G2. And notice where I am. I am about to infiltrate on your line, which means if my pawn touches your front line, which is that very first row, I can then transform that pawn into any piece that I want.
Is there anything I can do to prevent that from happening?
Right this second, yes. Yes, there is. In this instance, you would, because my pawn can only go forward and I can only capture I can only capture diagonally, I would move the rook from here to here because I can't capture moving forward, and that prevents me from going into your line and being able to transform that piece into a particular.
So that pawn is dead in the water right now because we moved that.
Yes, because I can't move forward because you're occupying the space. I can't capture forward. I can only capture diagonally. So until something moves into your H1 or your H3, then that pawn would sit there until the end of time.
All right, you're up.
Uh, all right, so I move my knight in L shape from what was that? D5 to E3.
Let's move 7E up 1 to 7D, the pawn.
I'm going to capture another pawn.
If I keep moving that same pawn 7D to 7C, are you in a position to take my pawn or?
I am. I am because I can capture diagonally. So this pawn I can use to take, this pawn I can use to take. And sometimes that's necessary. Like I said, if you have an idea in mind, um, you try to run through all of the moves to get to where you're trying to in your head, and you see how it plays out. Sometimes you want to infiltrate to make my comfort level a little less comfortable. You notice all of this is at a standstill. Nothing has moved on this side of the board. I'm only occupying this side of the board because we're just, running through roughly. You do want to come over this way and cause me to pay attention to the security level here and not pay attention to what's going on over here. As you develop as a player, you'll get the ability to do both. So I'm mindful that you're coming over here, but your pawn is of no consequence to me at this juncture. So I would have no. I would take your pawn. If your pawn comes onto my C line, I told you my comfort level is pretty much at D. So if you infiltrate and get to my C line, yeah, I'm pretty much going to take your pawn over there, and then I'm gonna go back to what I was doing over here because the point is to get your king. And
Yeah, I like it. Let's upset the monarchy over here. Let's get that pawn from 7D to 7C.
That's fine. All right, and we will use this one to capture that pawn.
Can we do 7G to 7F?
7G to 7F. No, because that's your bishop. It only moves on the green, so you have to go.
Oh, okay, got you.
See, and that. Remember I was saying about clearing out space so your pieces can move. This bishop would be able to travel along this green line or along this line, but your pawns are blocking it from moving. So
All right, let's do 6F to 6E.
6F to 6E. Okay. is that?
That is a makeshift farting noise.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
so
didn't like that.
you
You
just go
didn't like
ahead. Yeah, you just place your lips together like this here.
You didn't like that move? Is that what happened?
That was I knew that was going down, and oh, nice move. Can I do 7G to 7E?
7G to 7E.
I mean, not 7G to 7E, 7G to 5E. A diagonal line up 2 spaces.
7G to 5E. Yes, you can. That's what you want to do?
Yep.
You sure?
Not positive, but I want to make a move to see where I mess up.
Okay, so if you move your bishop here, there's nothing protecting that bishop. What I will do is, in the interest of time, this is what we will do. Are you ready?
I'm ready for some magic.
It's 12:30, getting to that time. So I will use my knight to take your knight, and I will also tell you that you are now in check. Any move that you make now has to be in an effort to get this piece better secured.
And pawns can't move backwards, you said, right?
And pawns can't move backwards.
Can I put the queen in front of the king?
You cannot, because my knight is what puts you in check. So this is how I capture, because you end up on my L. You have to now move this king out of this space or capture my knight, which you do have the ability to do.
How so? What positions? I don't think we went over. How can the king move? The same as the queen or differently?
No. The king is very limited. The king only moves one space at a time in any direction. So the king can move here, 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 any space around it. It can move once.
Okay, let's move him from 4H to 3H then. So I'm still far away from you, but I'm not in your L path.
Well, that's not what I'm going to let you do. What I am going to encourage you to do is, because my knight has your king in check, you want to minimize the risk. So let's get rid of my knight that had your king in check.
Oh, so the queen could do that.
Yes, the queen can do that. All right. So because the queen can do that, I want to, again, limit the amount of risk to my pieces. And by that I mean your queen can take my bishop. Your bishop can take my bishop. Your queen can take my pawn. I don't necessarily care about those pieces. And I play dangerously. We talked about that upon word say go. So what I will do is put you in check again.
Yo, why you gotta be putting me in check like this?
Because the point of the game is to get to a checkmate. The point of the game is to get your king into a position to where it can't do anything else but fall, and the game is over. So, yeah, we go for the jugular. This is the fun part of chess.
Remember, people at home, sometimes you need your friends to put you in check. You're not always right, okay? Remember that.
Right.
4H to 5H, or that not allowed to move because I'm in check?
No, you have to move. That's exactly what you do. But you would move your king. It can't stay on this line because the rook moves.
Oh, let's go forward to G then. Or can we do that?
Yep, that's exactly what you do. So your king is no longer in check. That part. I'm going to go ahead and swap out that pawn for a queen. So now I have two queens. And that's the reason that you have double chess sets. Also, if you can spare it, most chess sets only come with the standard pieces, but then you have instances where your pawns can transform into another piece. So, while you can say, hey, this pawn is now a queen and it will move as such, it's much easier if you can just swap out the piece with whatever piece you wanted it to be respectively. All right. So it is your go. Power move. No, I can't tell you that there is such a thing right this second. I can tell you that this game will be over shortly.
Ah. Who do I have in the corner on your left-hand side, my right-hand side? That's a knight?
That's a knight and a rook. So your rook can move all the way forward or all the way across, but you have your two pieces blocking it, so that's not your option right this second.
Can we do in an L shape towards my pawns?
Yeah, so you want to go up here?
Thank you.
Awesome. You just left yourself a little open, but it's fine. I love you.
Oh, it's it. The kill shot. I got the I love you. Oh, boy.
So I move my rook from H1 to a G1, and I'm going to tell you checkmate.
That's a wrap?
That's a wrap. So essentially what would happen okay, so check is when your king has the ability to move and get out of the position that I put you in. Your checkmate is your king can't move anywhere that won't put it in jeopardy. So my rook, because it can move along this path, your king has to move off of this line. And because my queen can move anywhere she wants to, your king can't go on this line. Now, if your question is, can't your king take my bishop? Yes, it would ideally, but my queen is still back here and you would still be in check. And it's just not feasible. You can't do it. So that's checkmate, and that is the game. So you lose. That's how you lose. That's what happens there. And that's chess in a nutshell.
Wow. King's falling down. That's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Thank you, Miss Hunt. That was amazing.
Not a problem, not a problem. And again, if you can concede also in chess. So some people get to a point where it's like, okay, I've made too many mistakes, or I'm done playing, or whatever the reason. If you decide that you don't want to continue with the game in chess, your option is to always lay your king down. Laying your king down means the game is over. You have forfeited. It's a wrap. There's nothing else to be done. You shake hands as all good sportsmanship. I guess however sportsmanship goes, you shake hands and that's pretty much the game. So you never ever want to lay your king down unless you are, in a position like this. It could be, you can fight, but it's not a lot of hope at the end of that. So you lay your king down and start over. All right, so that's pretty much it. But in the state that we're in, apps are a good way to start to learn. But as soon as you get a chance, spend the $2 on a set, and I'm willing to play with anybody. You send me a combination pattern, and we can get it going. Just let me know ahead of time so I can get the same number of chess boards that I have people playing.
I want to thank you all for tuning in to Virtual Cafe episode 9. This was Chess 101 with Miss Hunt. She is the master. She schooled me, and she absolutely schooled me in that I learned some stuff I didn't just watch. I remembered some stuff. I hope, and next time that I play her, I won't lose as badly as I did today.
Nah, you're gonna go download an app or something. Nobody likes to lose, especially at something so competitive and thoughtful. Like stress is a game of patience and strategy. Download an app though. You can't go wrong with any app. Download an app and definitely get some skills and moves and those things under your belt. And like I said, send me a combination of moves, initial move, pick a color, and I'll set the board up and we can play whenever you want.